Welcome back to SJU on Fandom Entertainment. Wow, I love the hand. Let's everybody hands up. Woo! I can't believe that worked. You guys all just did it like a.
It's only four.
Like a bunch of people who didn't mind that I asked you to put your hands up.
No, well,
this show's like a ride every day anyway. So
yeah.
We're all the single ladies.
What a yes and situation that was. Oh, I liked your joke better. Let's go back from mine. Go to the single lady joke.
Do you want to start from the top?
There. Yeah.
Billy, can we just start?
I'm going to make the joke this time, and I'm not going to give you credit. How do you feel about that?
That's fine.
That's Joe Starr over there with all the jokes. Is this a piece?
Hi,
Joke
Waving
Starr.
the piece.
Hi.
Very cool.
I just believe in it.
Our favorite real reject, Greg Alba.
Hey, I'm the favorite.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Well,
thanks.
But I don't know about your attitude this morning, Greg. I don't know.
What are you talking about?
What are you talking
I'm
about?
excited to be here.
You've been a real bud all morning.
Yeah.
I've never done any videos with you, Roxy.
Wow, this is the
first time we've collabed together.
And guys, spoiler alert, we're now following each other on Twitter, which probably means that we cast each other in our movies because that's how we always get all that information. So I'm just dropping that little leak here. And of course, Dan Murrell, the person who I agree with every single thing on in the entire planet.
Not everything. That's right.
Although last week we did discover we have more similar taste than one would think.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's just that we're so far apart.
Yeah.
On the things we're far apart on. It's a false. It gives a false sense of the fact that we completely disagree on it.
But it's
Very far apart.
a much more three-dimensional, I feel, relationship than we've been labeling it. I think
There's a lot of
layers.
depth there, like an onion. I don't know what accent that is.
Very-
Like an onion.
Like an onion.
Like an onion. We're going into the onion territory. Speaking of onions, let's talk about what we're talking about on the show today. Yeah, let's peel this back. I just came up with that myself. We've got Obi-Wan news, guys. We're going to talk about Star Wars, which is every nerd's favorite thing to talk about this early in the morning. And then, of course, we're going to talk about that Mortal Kombat casting because, again, all of our nerd favorite things to talk about. And then it is Fan Friday, so we're going to go over some fan questions because you guys are our favorite people. I know we've been incorporating those throughout the week more, but Friday is for the fans. And it's alliteration, which is very important in life. Yeah. Let's start with this Star Wars story, though, guys, because we are probably getting the return of an actor that is, I would say, everybody's favorite part of the prequels, or at least up there.
My favorite non-Dexter Jester part, easily.
You guys know my
non-diner related.
Yeah, non-diner related.
He's in the diner.
He is in the diner scene.
So it doesn't even matter. Yeah.
I'm a huge prequels fan, though, so we're gonna have different. There's the scene.
That picture.
We're gonna have different opinions on this, though, because I love the sequels, the prequels just in general. But Ewan McGregor is in talks. He is in talks to return as Obi-Wan in a Disney Plus series. So we had been talking about a movie in the works and all of these different possibilities, but now it seems like he might be doing a Disney Plus series. Dan, how do you feel about this not being a movie and this being a Disney Plus series, if it is in fact true?
Yeah, I mean, if these rumors do bear fruit, I mean,
he is rumored to be in talks about something maybe happening.
So they're facts.
Yeah, I mean, what D23 is
next week.
Next week. So I guess it's not shocking that this kind of stuff is bubbling up now. Obviously, if they could bring him out at D23, that would be a huge moment.
Yeah.
And they love to do those at those conventions.
Yeah.
But we've seen this appears to be their strategy. I know a lot of people would say like, oh well, Solo didn't do well, so they're bumping him down to Disney Plus. They've shown with Marvel now that part of their ongoing strategy for their franchises is going to be a joint venture between things on Disney Plus and theatrically released movies. I think I'm of the opinion that Star Wars, they would be smart to back off the strategy of doing a Star Wars movie a year. I think they should do them every 2 years.
Every 2 years, yeah.
So,
and this would help with that?
I think this would help with that because it keeps it alive. It obviously would be a huge draw for Star Wars fans who, if they aren't enticed by The Mandalorian, would be enticed by this whenever it comes out. And I think it also, something being on Disney Plus, that gives it access to people that want to watch it. And it's not quite as out there as putting a movie out there that people are like, well, I guess I gotta go see it because it's a Star Wars movie. I know it seems like a weird distinction, but it is.
Yeah.
So,
and he still is from the prequel movie. I know you like the prequels, but
Love the
a lot of
prequels.
people don't. And he still is from that prequel era.
Hate sand, love the prequels.
plus, I think this lends itself.
Love the prequels.
I think this lends itself to a much more episodic thing because, like, if you're asking me Obi-Wan Kenobi, like, what would a movie about Obi-Wan Kenobi be about? Because it's like it would be set probably after the prequels, but before A New Hope, where we think we know what he's doing, and like, what's the one big adventure that he forgot about or didn't mention? Whereas episodic, you have more license to make it more of a portrait of like his life. His, it doesn't have to be like, we have 2 hours, we got to jam as much into this as we can.
True. I could see it being kind of like a sort of a Mad Max Nomad kind of tale of a guy transitioning from Obi-Wan Kenobi to Ben Kenobi. Because when he does show up in A New Hope, he does have a moment where they say the name Obi-Wan Kenobi, and it is like, oh, wow, yeah, I completely forgot about that identity.
I think there's something interesting there that... I think that's actually really a cool moment to hone in on, because...
Thanks, Joe. I'm glad I contributed to Screen
you're right. You have absolutely earned the baller amount of money we're able to pay you to come on to this show.
So much. Paying my rent
So much money!
Can you bring a 10?
Can you
I can bring a 10 now.
And this stack of old Burger King coupons is for you. Well, this has been my question on doing any of these spin-off movies, specifically an Obi-Wan movie when it was a movie and now a series, is like, what story do you tell? Because Clone Wars fleshed out everything he did in the prequels. He had a complete arc of a love interest. He had most of a complete arc of having a nemesis. And then him and old Duchess Satine. And then in Rebels, they conclude the arc of him and Darth Maul in a really satisfying way. And in the comics, they introduced the idea of Luke finding his journals, basically the journals of the Ewan.
I'm freaking bored on Tatooine, man. There's nothing to do here.
Which are a lot of.
I see why Anakin hated it,
right? But like, and I no longer like sand either. But in the comics, I feel like they're a really nice Deus Machina for like, hey, we need a one shot for a Star Wars issue. Let's crack open the Journal of Obi-Wan, and we'll see another story of him like protecting Luke or doing something on Tatooine. So what do you do?
It could be funny.
I like the idea of this being the story where he officially loses the Obi-Wan identity, because that is an interesting moment to look at in A New Hope, where maybe he has gone a little weird and feral, and he is a crazy old wizard for whatever reason now, and literally forgot who he was.
Oh, it could be cool.
That is the story. Are you guys hoping that this is in fact a mini series and we get 8 episodes and it's one and done, or are you guys hoping that they pick a story that we could tell for seasons and seasons?
It's 19-year gap between between episode 3 and A New Hope, so 19 seasons is the ideal. Mark, I'd like.
I have a feeling that Dan is not necessarily on that same page.
I love an 8 episode.
Well, I think what the Falcon Winter Soldier Marvel stuff is like 3 or 5 episodes, something. They're definitely not doing full too long Defender arcs.
No, you can't make I don't think you can make multiple seasons out of it. Like, how much does really go on in this tale? There's not much to do there. I've heard some stories like with the comics we were talking about of encounters with Jabba the Hutt's gang, and there's a lot of stories about him like helping Luke without him knowing he's helping him, which just sounds like it could be like a comedy to me at that point.
Yeah.
Oh, there's young Luke Skywalker. How many times are we going to show him? Get a DH Mark Hamill.
Literally, like he's the Robin Shoe roll in Beverly Hills Ninja.
Yes.
In the background, fixing scripts. Not the last time we're going to talk about Beverly Hills Ninja today.
I don't know.
You can get it before the show. And
that's coming up in my life too.
It's links to the Mortal Kombat conversation.
Really
But you could get a Qui-Gon Jinn Force Ghost in there.
You could. Well, that was the other thing I was going to pitch is, what if it's after A New Hope and it's Ghost World? And you just
don't hate that at all.
Way more interesting.
With Qui-Gon Jinn.
That's way more
hanging
interesting.
out with old man Darth Vader / I guess now because they redid the special editions on Jedi, you could bring Hayden Christensen back. All of the Mace Windu.
Ooh.
It's just Ghost World, Jedi Ghost World.
How badly I want
would kinda
Hayden to be
watch
on
that.
this show, you don't even understand.
cool
That's
pitch.
all I want my whole life. What do you guys think about,
that idea at all.
regardless of where this is going, the fact that it's Ewan McGregor? Because I have not seen a so universally loved casting choice that the internet right now seems to be 100% behind. I can't find anybody right now that's really anti-Ewan coming back for this role. Are you guys on that same page where you think that he's the perfect selection, or do you wish that they were giving somebody else a shot to play Obi-Wan?
I think even though people's love of the prequels mileage varies, I think the one thing that can unite most of us is that Ewan McGregor was a dope as young Obi-Wan. Whether or not you're like, that's what made me love the prequels, or if you're like, I want to give him another shot so he can do it in a not a prequel. Like,
Yeah.
I think everyone really loves that casting choice. So
Well, I think even with Solo, a Star Wars story, when that was announced, everyone was like, "Why are you doing that?" But with Obi-Wan Kenobi and Ewan McGregor, fans have been wanting that for such a long time, such a long time. And he's going to be Black Mask, right? And the new
Birds of Prey.
You Renaissance coming our way. Can you feel it, guys?
yeah, very into the Ewan.
Oh yeah. What about you, Dan? Excited for him?
Yeah, I always liked his performance in the prequels. I thought that he gave that, particularly that third movie, no disrespect to Hayden Christensen, but I felt like he was the one that gave it the gravitas and the weight.
Oh, yeah.
He's the one that I really felt like you saw the... that scene on the banks of the lava river where he's, that could have been very melodramatic and cheesy, and he really gave it that pain that speech needed.
It's an awesome quote now.
It is.
You were the chosen one. Yeah, that's such a great moment.
I love that scene. It's perfect. I love the prequels.
And it actually...
We know.
It's like a Will Ferrell sketch.
I'm
drove a dog strap.
I'm agreeing with you that he is great in that scene.
And there are many great people in that scene.
And she loves the prequels.
And I love the prequels.
I love the fact of seeing more of him. It's just I think I've said it before. It's just sometimes just the concept of like what happened to somebody during the least interesting part of their life.
True.
But that it's only not interesting if you find a way to make it not interesting.
It's true.
So-
It's like, what's the plot surrounding the character? Because I think when executed right, and obviously you can harken back to something like Logan, when you actually deal with the character being older and dealing with the age he's at, I feel like you get something that can be really compelling and really badass and cool if they truly work with that. That's why I'm kind of drawn to potentially doing some type of Mad Max Wasteland kind of thing, especially on Tatooine, where there's a lot of like junkyard
Agreed.
scrap things they put together.
Yeah, I would love for that to be like Ben Kenobi has been this sort of stealth soldier on Tatooine who can't reveal himself, but is still a Jedi. He's still a Jedi Knight and is out for justice and is out for so he's sort of like Tatooine Batman, not
You
like
could-
a superhero, but
you
sneaking
could pull
around
off
the
the thing where,
shadows
like-
and
That's great.
Well, I feel like it would be cool because he'd be repressing a lot of those Jedi things as he has to be in hiding and like everything he's been trained to be and grow up to be a specific kind of human being.
You could have a Furiosa-esque
Yes.
not in terms of like a carbon copy, but like a person who, it's called Obi-Wan, but like this person's the main thrust, and by the end, Obi-Wan's gonna go and like vanish into the crowd.
I don't want to see space in this show. I do not want to see
Because
I don't
of
want him to
budget
go to-
purposes
no,
or
I don't want
creative?
him to go to space. I don't want to see him leaving Tatooine and going on
Sand Wars.
Like no.
What about
I
the last
wanna-
scene?
What's that?
Last scene.
No, he's
of the
going to go back
series.
home. It's going to be like The Hobbit.
the last scene he's
Start off at home and he's going to end up at home. That really is what's interesting to me, is this idea of like, because that is the only thread that I would kind of be interested in, is like, we hear in Star Wars, we see like, that's a name I haven't heard in a long time.
Yeah.
But this idea of like, what, it's what, 18 years ish between what we know, like what was going on, but not in a way of just like, I remember once this adventure I've never told you about.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah. As
what
he-
was the reality of his
As he holds a diamond on like the bow of a ship and remembers a tale of his lost love.
What would the final episode of this be? Just waiting to see Luke get hurt so he can go in and
It was
now's
all,
my time.
it was all a dream.
Used to read Word Up magazine.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, or just sitting alone. That was actually one of my favorite images in Rebels. Was they built up so much to like they were teasing Obi-Wan so much, and instead of the flippy badass that I think people were kind of hoping they would get from like the Clone Wars series or the prequels, he was already like an aged man who was just sort of sitting quietly, like contemplating his fate at a campfire, and it was so like just understated and cool that I think something like that. You just
Would you like to see a live action version of that? Like kind of redone if they did it in the show?
Nah, I'm good. They've made it.
Nah, nothing.
They've made it. Yeah.
Go ahead, Dan.
Here's what I think would be cool is something like if there was a bounty hunter out there, or there was some kind of mercenary who had been investigating and had found out that the son of Skywalker still lives and knows that this would be a huge like bargaining chip with the Empire, and so comes to Tatooine looking for him, and Obi-Wan has to actually do what he was there to do, which is to protect Luke, but at the same time cannot reveal reveal himself because he doesn't want to bring him into this. Like this idea of he was there the whole time and he was protecting him, but at the same time you can't bring the Empire into it because you've already established that Darth Vader didn't know about Luke, so you can't have this thing where like the Empire sends troops, but this idea of just like almost a cat and mouse game, almost like an espionage thriller. You have this person who's looking for Luke, you have Obi-Wan who's trying to stop him, and it's like I know it seems small stakes for Star Wars, but A, it's doable for television, and B, I think it would just be a great character show.
That'd be a lot of tension. Have a cool ticking clock to it. That'd be really cool.
I mean, you know obviously what happens, but that's
honestly
once you do something before.
We all know what happened, but I wonder if this is somebody's introduction to Star Wars.
It always could be.
It always could be. That would be such an interesting perspective to have on this.
I also think the key to something like that is you've got to make the characters you introduce around him compelling and matter, because that's where like The Hobbit screwed up, because the only characters they ever put in peril in The Hobbit were Gandalf, Legolas, and it was like I know they're gonna get through this. Like I know, like introduce Evangeline, like put Evangeline Lilly's elf lady
Toriel.
It's hard to remember because Evangeline Lilly already sounds like an elf name, so I'm like, I think that was her.
She's like fantastic.
She's the one you put in that fight because I don't know if she gets out or not, and I think those are the people that you've got to give him like supporting characters that you really care about so that they can bear the brunt of that dramatic weight, because the moment a machine is like in the moment he's on like a factory assembly line going towards the saw, it's like he's fine.
Well,
or he dies, and this movie and the Star Wars universe gets really
There's
crazy.
always that option.
Yeah, you know.
The death option. We are curious what you guys have to think about this, though. Are you excited for the Obi-Wan series? Do you wish that it was a movie still? Do you look at this as a demotion? Are you happy to see Ewan McGregor back in the role? Again, all of this being if this does take place, because we're in talks for the talks right now. Yeah. Also, don't forget, like and subscribe if you are here watching SJU on Fandom Entertainment. We really appreciate that. And don't forget to hit that bell. Why was your bell so quiet?
Very understated.
No, it's an understated bell.
Elegant. Don't be afraid.
It's an understated bell, guys. Also, amazing things going on Fandom.com. Fandom Uncut.
It was bothering me that I hadn't opened it.
I'm about to throw Fandom Uncovered, and you just wanted to uncover your soda first. Is that important? Fine. You don't want me to tell them all about the Dungeons and Dragons episode, Joe?
Please do. Roth will fire me.
Dungeons and Dragons on Fandom Uncovered on Fandom.com. Make sure you check it out, watch and share, and also check out the Evolution of Thanos featuring the very amazing Jim Starlin. All right, Joe, how's that taste? Because it seems like you opened it and then you didn't even have a sip.
Tastes like quality content, like you can find here on Fandom Entertainment, Roxy.
You were like Andy Dufresne waiting for the bell to like cover the sound of the Coke can opening. Coke can. That's my Southern roots. Every aluminum can is
a Coke can.
That's Arkansas talking.
Good job, Joe. Let's move on to Mortal Kombat. Excited about this one. It is found. It's a Liu Kang. You guys want to keep doing that throughout the entire?
Kind of.
I like
Is it weird that we sounded sarcastic?
No, you didn't. You sounded.
Did we sound sarcastic?
Right
Maybe
on
I'm just very cynical.
That was real nostalgia.
I just don't know what genuine emotion feels like anymore.
Good.
You manipulated me there. I thought we were bonding.
No, I'm not feeling it so much. This is coming via Variety. I wish it was coming to her so I could use your to her joke.
It's all good.
It's coming Variety, and they've reported that Chinese-Canadian actor Ludi Lin is currently in negotiations with New Line Cinema to play the role of Liu Kang in Mortal Kombat, which is the upcoming live-action version of the video game. So is it every time I say Mortal Kombat, we're going to break into it?
Yeah.
One of us will echo Mortal Kombat.
Pretty cool. I did want to start just in general because we have a fan-related question to this from Stephen H. He wants us to talk a little bit about the Mortal Kombat movie that's in the works and what we think of it. Who would you cast? So let's just talk about Mortal Kombat in general. How are you guys feeling about this movie? And then we can get into specific casting. Greg, what are your thoughts on Mortal Kombat coming back?
I remember when this was first being brought up in the conversation when Kevin Tantron did the Mortal Kombat Legacy web series. Have you seen that? And that was really badass. It was like, I can't remember how many episodes it is, but Warner Brothers now owns it. I'm excited about this.
It was started as a fan project, right?
Yeah,
that's how good it was.
Free, like they just a bunch of people who work in the industry were like, let's put something together.
Yeah,
and
like that's how good it was. That
it came out really
Warner
cool.
Brothers was like, we'll pay you to keep doing that. Like that's the dream, baby.
I really with some of the cast,
baby, that's a dream, baby.
With some of the cast,
I'm in the ed chair. I got it.
I got it. Baby.
Let's get nuts. With some of the casting that's been done with this already, it's going in the direction that I'm hoping it's going to go, of a hard R martial arts flick. Yeah, I feel like that's what you really need. If you watch any of those countless trailers that get released for the recent video games, it's really cool combat, but it's gory as hell. They got these like awesome X-ray moves and everything, and I really think that you have to have a hard R martial arts film. Something like, I mean, Joe Taslim's in this movie, and have you guys seen his movie, The Night Comes for Us? Is that what it's called? Yeah, something like that kind of like, because that movie's kind of scary in how violent it is, but also insanely well choreographed.
Yes.
And that's what I would primarily want for this one.
Joe, Mortal Kombat thoughts?
Yeah, I think you've got to sell me on just really good, really amazing, incredible action. I don't care about the lore. I don't care about the I don't care about the detailed history of Scorpion and Sub-Zero and their friendship and or that they're friends. Like, I don't care. I just really, all I want out of this movie is techno music and really great choreographed fighting and blood.
Can I add
really
practical effects onto that?
Yes, practical effects.
As cheesy as the 90s one is, I love that one. That's my prequel. I love that one. And actually, I think people generally like that one. It's Annihilation.
You still hate sand, though, right?
I still hate sand, absolutely.
Yeah.
But the Goro practical effects I thought were awesome. And I feel like getting practical effects for this one would also be pretty sweet.
Dan, are you excited for the Mortal Kombat movie?
Well, here's the thing. When I was growing up, there were certain things that were like a soft ban. That were like, if I got caught watching them, it would be like, hey, turn that off. The Simpsons was one of those.
Right.
It was disallowed.
Till what age?
Into my teenage years. But Mortal Kombat came out when I was, 8, 9 years old. The movie came out, I think, when I was 10. So Mortal Kombat, though, was one of the things that was a hard ban in the sense of, like, it was a groundable offense in my household.
Ooh, don't want to get grounded.
If you were to be caught playing Mortal Kombat, or if it had been heard that I had played Mortal Kombat elsewhere.
If you had spoken the words Mortal Kombat.
Which I found out that there was a whole network of parents that I had no idea existed, that I found out about like 5 years ago.
Oh, man, that's how you found out about the International Adult Conspiracy?
Yeah, it's real. So I have really no attachment whatsoever to Mortal Kombat. I didn't even see the movie till we did the honest trailer for it.
Oh, wow.
I have no attachment. I like what you pitched. As a movie fan, that sounds fun. So I'm going to go with what Greg said.
This is very supportive what Greg said today.
And then what about this specific casting? Do you guys know Ludi Lin well? Are you excited?
He's my best friend. Yeah.
You get beers together all the time.
Oh, yeah.
I really only know him from the Power Rangers movie, and just from a pure acting standpoint, I really like the Power Rangers movie up until the last 20 minutes when it turns into a kind of rough episode of Power Rangers.
Which is not his fault.
Yeah, not his fault at all.
Are you sure about that?
But all the character stuff and everything, I thought he was great. So I'm excited to see him carry a movie.
Black Mirror season 5, episode
Yes.
1.
I know he's
Vipers.
Yes.
I know he's like a fighting character.
Yeah,
right?
he was a fighting character. Oh, you haven't seen it?
No, I haven't seen it.
Oh, you got to go watch it.
Oh, that is him as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, he's got chops.
Oh yeah, I'm excited for him to be in this.
That's
I
crazy.
forgot that was him until I looked him up on IMDb before. And I was like, oh wait, okay, now I'm pretty excited. I don't know if Liu Kang will be the main character because he's the main character in the.
I think I'm just used to him being the main character.
Yeah, now I just go, he's main character.
Yeah.
And
because my groundable was I had a spin-off novel.
Right.
And not from the movie, but like from the game, and I got in trouble for having that.
Oh, Joe's in trouble. When you got in trouble, what happened? Go to your room?
No, well, I think that's how it would start, and then I was like kind of just a piece of garbage as a kid, so I would just yell enough, and my parents would just give in. It was kind of how that went.
This is good advice for the kids out there.
Oh yeah,
Yell until they fold. Totally. Dan, any casting that could get you really excited about this, or casting that's already happened that you're excited about?
Well, I liked the characters in the Power Rangers movie. I'm trying to remember where I think I fell just on the negative side of it, largely because at the end it just sort of felt like a. I don't know. It was an odd movie, but I liked the characters, and then he played Captain Merc and Aquaman, and it's a small role, but I liked him. I don't
remember that.
He was Captain Merc.
was
is
the
the
octopus
guy
that played the drums.
Yeah, he was the octopus. No, Captain Merc
Fake
is
news,
the guy.
Joe.
He was like Orm's right hand man. He's barely in the movie, but he's the guy that fights Aquaman, and then gets his helmet smashed and has to breathe in the toilet. Like he's the
that's him?
head mercenary.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But it's a tiny role. It doesn't make much of a impression. Not his fault. It's just the movie has so much going on that Captain Merc is like number 423 on things about Superman. So yeah, Joe Taslim for me is like a great like hell yes, because
that was the smartest first casting they could have done for fans who want this to be a specific kind of movie. That was really smart.
That first Raid movie, they're both great, but Raid Redemption obviously out of the gate is so good.
You know what else he's in, Dan?
What's that?
Warrior.
The
favorite
TV
show, Warrior,
Oh,
that I won't shut up about.
Yep.
Backstory, I won't shut up about that show in the writer's room.
that
Spencer
true?
and Dan have started to get sort of annoyed by it.
Why have I not heard about your love for the show?
Oh, we just don't hang out as much as I'd like us to, Roxy.
it's just
But
really
we can fix
sad.
that. We can still fix that.
Any other dream casting across the board for you guys? Somebody whose name you would love to be added
Christopher
to?
Lambert.
Yes, back is rated.
Let's do it. Yeah.
White rated back.
Yeah.
Sorry, no.
I would.
We did it.
No, honestly, I'd be pretty excited about that. Who replaced him in an island? It doesn't matter. I remember being like, who played Sonya Blade in the '90s one? She was in Last
I
Action
did.
Hero.
Veronica Vaughn.
Veronica Vaughn.
From Billy Madison.
Yes.
But I her name is out of my head. I just remember that she was.
Ryan's on it.
Yeah.
Hit that bell when you got it,
Well,
Ryan.
someone not like her for Sonya Blade because she couldn't really fight. And I don't really watch wrestling. My girlfriend's really into wrestling. I think you two would get along. But I think Becky Lynch would be such a badass choice to play
Wow,
Sonya
Yeah,
interesting
sold.
pitch.
Yeah,
Interesting
very
pitch.
Yeah.
Becky Lynch.
Just someone who could
the
really
man.
fight. Yeah, the man. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely could tap somebody from the WWE for that role.
They might as well. There's so many characters in
whether
Mortal
it's
Kombat.
Becky or somebody else there. Maybe Mandy. There's a lot of people there that could definitely work. Ryan, any answers?
Bridget Wilson.
Bridget
Bridget Wilson.
Yeah.
Yes.
Who's the guy with all the arms?
Goro.
Dave Bautista.
Yes.
Yeah, you know what?
Some
Sure.
personality. Why not? Right?
Yeah.
You
Although
guys
he's a bad
giggle,
guy,
but I
right?
kind of like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but why not?
It would be cool. I like it.
Something that keeps popping up this month is that Angry Birds 2 is the best reviewed video game based movie on Rotten Tomatoes. I think it came in at like a still relatively low. It was like
74.
it was not
guys
incredibly high. But do you guys think that this could be the movie that knocks that down and takes the first place?
It's very weird that it's Angry Birds. Angry Birds 2 is.
After that, I believe it's
the best.
Pokemon in second.
Detective Pikachu.
Yeah. I
And
think
Tomb Raider
so.
after that.
Yeah. But
I
now we're
think
talking
they-
in the 60s.
I think it like the very brilliant Greg Alba pitched. I think you should walk away from this Mortal Kombat movie being like, I just watched a dope martial arts movie, and not be worried about like, I just watched a sick video game adaptation. I think that's how you make a really good video game adaptation of Mortal Kombat is just not worry about trying to do one.
Yeah.
They've been trying to do this for a while. They still haven't cracked it. They tried to do it with Assassin's Creed. They tried to do it with Warcraft, which I thought was half of a good movie. But I think the reason that video game movies sucked for so long and oftentimes are not great is because they were made very cynically by studios. They're like, this is kid garbage. And so they just did weird stuff and they just weren't good movies because they're like, whatever, the kids are going to go see it. Who cares? We're just going to throw some stuff and name some people things or whatever. And every once in a while you get a Raul Julia in there who really cared. But usually it was just like, whatever, we'll call it Street Fighter. Who cares?
But even Raul Julia in there was playing arcade buttons with detonating bombs underwater.
But I think what we live in now in a post Guardians of the Galaxy world is this concept of there's no idea that's too weird or dumb to make a good movie out of.
Yeah, definitely.
And so I hope what that means is that we'll see, because if you take Mortal Kombat, if you have a studio that's going to say like we're gonna go with an R rating, we're gonna hire an action director, we're gonna hire some people that can really fight, we're gonna invest in choreography, and we're gonna try to make a really cool movie. That could be great. I mean, that could be a really, really great movie. That's what I like, is that studios now, largely because we're in such a risk-averse world where they're just like, we have to invest in IP. They actually start taking this stuff seriously. I hope that they do make a really good movie.
Yeah. And I think there's an audience primed for it. If you spend just a couple minutes like searching on Netflix, because Netflix is invested very heavily in international content, and you will find so many series and movies from Hong Kong, from China, from Bollywood that are these similar like fantastical action sort of feeling things. And I think there's an audience that will definitely watch this in the international market that are now so used to and enjoy that subgenre of like fantasy martial arts, I guess.
Did you guys check out Wu Assassins on Netflix?
I have not yet.
I heard it wasn't. It didn't look too good to me. Did you see it?
I've only seen a little bit, but regardless of story, the fights are unbelievable.
Well, Iko Uwais is
Yeah,
just mad
incredible.
brilliant.
Yeah.
Well, that's why I like this.
Really
That's why I like
incredible.
this casting, because I think it challenged it, like Wu Assassins, just based on the trailer that I saw, and then like Into the Badlands, like the action's incredible. But then, like the acting isn't quite there to like keep me invested. Whereas Taslim from Warrior, like he's a great actor. He's also a badass, as you know from the Raid and stuff like that. Like, get you a man who can do both. And so I feel like that's what they're trying to do.
I'm trying, Joe. I'm trying to get me a man who can do both.
I know.
Jeez.
Just get Iko Uwais in there. Might as well
Why
put
not?
him in there at this point. Yeah.
I want to get to some fan questions though, because like I said, it's Fan Friday, and Friday
Jet
is
Li
for
is
the
Raven.
fans.
You bring Jet Li as a small special
Wait,
role.
do you
Is it back?
understand? Do you understand?
It's back.
Do you understand my frustration right now when I was told that it's been wiped from the board? There's no getting it back.
Yep.
It's gone. All it takes is Billy Business to come in here and bring back all of my wildest fan question dreams.
It's
I miss
crazy,
that
though,
spenny face.
Because we talk through it when we have it, and then when we wait for it, they don't have it. It's just an awkward silence.
I will say I couldn't help it. I talked right through that. Don't even care.
It's all good.
Oh, guys.
I wish
so
we could
good.
hear it.
Well, I can hear it in my head.
Awesome.
Just borrow
We'd
my
have
head
to have
for
all
a
the
second.
headphones on, and it just feels weird to have the headphones on in here while we talk to each
Yeah.
other, like we're all in individual F-16 cockpits.
Wow,
Really
this is a superhero name for a badass question. Blaze Sawyer with the
hell
fan
yeah.
question.
Blaze
Sawyer. Wow, if you guys don't all name your children Blaze Sawyer, do you even love them? I don't know.
agreed.
I really don't know. With all the talk at Tarantino.
Please.
That is so dope. With all the talk of Tarantino directing a Star Trek movie, I was wondering which big director would you pair with which big franchise? Joe, I'm coming to you first.
I wish you hadn't.
Okay, Dan, I'm coming to you first.
Boy,
Greg, I'm coming to you first.
Brad Bird and Pirates of the Caribbean.
He was ready.
Yeah, I feel like Pirates of the Caribbean quickly evolved into the Jack Sparrow franchise. And while I actually love those first. I love the second one too. I might actually like it more than the first, just personal preference. But
And then did you like the 23rd one?
No.
How many have there been? 6. How many are we on now? 5.
But they're rebooting it now, and I feel like Brad Bird can bring a lot of that awesome, with the sensibility, like that whimsy that he brings, but also more than just its lead. I think he knows how to really make an ensemble shine, and I feel like he could bring something really fresh and invigorating, and he works well with Disney. It's like the one offset movie he had was Tomorrowland, but even that had a lot of really inventive, cool ingredients, despite the whole thing not being too spectacular. He's done a bunch of other great films, and I feel like that'd be cool. My weird pick, my weird choice. I just finished The Boys last night. You guys saw it, right?
Yes.
I lost some sleep. I got like 4 hours of sleep because I was so addicted to the last couple episodes.
I did the same thing last night, but with Bachelor in Paradise, so I know how you feel to
The
sleep
same thing
over
with
something.
The Terror, starring acclaimed actor Jared Harris.
You guys are way more caught up on shows.
Blamed Dr. Terry.
But my pick would be, because I'm on 3rd season of Supernatural. I finished The Boys. I feel like this might seem odd, but whatever they're trying to do with how The Boys deals with a lot of like the monetization of superheroes nowadays, and okay, once we get past the wonder and the magic of them, what would they sort of become into, and how would we utilize them, and how the show reflects the political landscape today. I felt like Jurassic World was attempting to do something like that, and I think that Eric Kripke would actually be a person. I think he nails it when he deals with these subjects, and dealing with supernatural, dealing with monsters, dealing with these larger than life things. I feel like Eric Kripke would actually pull off. I don't know what kind of movies he would do, but I think he might do a good job with that.
Cool. Joe, you come up with yours?
Yeah. So everyone is on a big let's make every possible fantasy IP that we can with Wheel of Time and the Game of Thrones prequels, and I think MTV already
Wheel
did
of Time?
Shannara.
Wrinkle of Time.
Wheel of Time, my
Wheel of
friend.
Time? What's Wheel of Time?
An 18 book fantasy series.
Tell me more.
From my childhood.
He tried to correct you. Boy, did he not.
Coming soon to
I did
Amazon.
not know what I was walking into.
They actually just announced the full cast. I'm very excited about it. Anyway, I'm going to take another fantasy IP from my youth, The Dark is Rising, which they already tried to make as a movie called The Seeker, The Dark is Rising. Remember that terrible, awful thing?
I remember the name.
I am going to, they're wonderful, wonderful books, and I would give those to Ava DuVernay. I think
I do feel like you made this question a little bit your own, as I don't know if we'd consider that a big franchise as of this point.
Oh yeah, you know what? That's fair.
Maybe.
Oh man,
To each their own.
it's a hard question because it's like which.
It's a big franchise to you, Joe. It's a big
It
franchise
is, yeah, to me.
To him.
Anyways, I would give that
In your
to her
heart.
because I think visually she's a really out there, really cool, fun director. Think what you will about Wrinkle. Like it's still like visually like really stunning. I really enjoy she's walking in the white room as like the stairs and everything drawing around her and stuff. I thought that stuff was really cool. I know most of us hit our wall on 80-foot tall Oprah, and then
It was Lettuce Leaf flying around 80-foot tall over.
That's fair. That's fair. Nope, absolutely fair. And
love the
I
prequels.
won't. Roxy loves the
But not
prequels.
Sam.
I think they are very dry British books, and I think she could give them a little spice to sort of pick them up on the screen. Other than that, like all of these people are going to direct a Marvel movie. Like at some point, all of us will have marveled. Even
We might have a
even
shot.
this table. Like we will all make something
will.
for Marvel.
I will. Dan,
This movie would lose so much money.
whatever. It's
Thank
your
you,
dream
Blaze.
world. Lose all the money.
I would take Denis Villeneuve and I would give him a Star Trek movie.
Ooh, yeah.
Fascinating.
Really? That would-
I'm
I
shocked
feel like
to
that
hear
would
you
work.
say that, actually.
I love his vibe, and I think that he's actually the kind of filmmaker that could marry. I mean, he did a little bit with Blade Runner. Blade Runner was already a very thinky sci-fi franchise, and I felt like he brought the best of him and the best of that movie that existed, and I loved how that came together. I have a very controversial opinion in that I prefer Blade Runner 2049 to the original.
I do too.
Personally. Not that I don't like the original, but I really love Blade Runner 2049.
You know who else did?
You?
This girl.
There we go. See, we're not so different. You
Oh
and I.
my God. He's rubbing off on me.
So I would love to see what he would bring to Star Trek, which I think often is can be a very thinky franchise. Now, I don't think you have to go all the way into Star Trek the Motion Picture territory, but I do think that he could bring a really cool vibe to it, and I would love to see how his sensibility marries with Star Trek at its most explorational.
Yeah.
Is that a word? I'm
Yeah.
going to make it a word.
Sure. Why
Yeah,
not?
it is now.
You're damn Murrell.
I would
Of
love
course
to-
it's a
When
word.
we're
I would
answering
love
a
to see
question
that,
from Blaze
and
Sawyer, it's a word.
It would not make any money, but I would probably love it.
I feel like if he
Question's
did,
not about money, Dan.
I feel like if he did Star Trek the motion picture, it probably would have been better. That
Star Trek
story.
the Motion Picture is an odd movie. It's a very weird film.
I watched it on 1.5 speed. I could not.
And it's still
Halfway
slow.
through, I was
Still
like,
slow.
nope, can't get into this.
When
It's
you
already
have to watch
this-
a movie on that, you know you're in trouble.
No,
Let's
it's-
get
yeah, it's
to another fan question from Jonathan Peck. We love you, Jonathan,
Jonathan Peck, I know.
What actor and director who haven't worked together ever should make a movie together? My choices are Nicolas Cage and Quentin Tarantino. A lot of Tarantino love today. And Martin Scorsese and Tom Hanks.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Interesting.
I didn't even realize that hadn't been done.
Cage and Tarantino,
do you have
is
one?
weirdly surprising.
We're coming to you first. You were the only one prepared last time. You're
I'm
now
ready.
my go-to. I don't care if you're ready right now, Joe. Our friend Greg is ready.
I'm. Wow. Well-timed
what
sneeze.
an interesting
Is that
reaction.
fake?
That's how I always sneeze.
Wow.
Is that a sneeze cry?
Defense mechanism.
Yeah, the sneeze. I keep most of my depression and negative feelings just right here, and when the pollen
Fascinating.
comes out, it all starts to really come
When
out.
I gave you that negative
Fascinating.
vibe, the sneeze cry just
Yeah.
happened.
Oh no, that was about a lot of deep-seated stuff.
Oh,
and
well, I'm
nothing-
still going to start with
That'll
Greg,
come out in
so
another 2
just
years.
To be clear, Greg, what's your answer?
Going off of Quentin Tarantino, when I heard this question, I was like, this is one I've always wanted to see paired. Quentin Tarantino just worked with Brad Pitt and DiCaprio in the same movie, and I think he was in talks to make an appearance in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I would love to see Tom Cruise and Quentin Tarantino work together. You know, as much as I get a big high off of the Tom Cruise stuntman crazy dude that he is now, I haven't forgotten that he's actually a really well-gifted actor. I feel like the last time he really got to sink his teeth into a role that really shined was Collateral, and something on that darker side, dialogue heavy, I think would be really cool to see him and Tarantino work together. I feel like people would actually be excited to see a Tom Cruise performance again instead of just a Tom Cruise stunt film again.
Okay. Joe, I know that you were ready.
I am.
We're very excited for it.
I'm going
Hit us with what you got.
David Leitch and Phoebe Waller-Bridge. I think she's just
Interesting.
She's a star.
Did she write
man.
it also?
Yeah, she can write it. She can star in it. I just think she's one of those actors where the moment she's on camera, you just can't stop paying attention to her. I think that's why Fleabag works so well. It's her. It's not just the writing and the directing and the concept.
Oh, you're not saying that it's her, like that's who she is. You're saying she's what makes it.
Her specifically, like playing the character. Because I think you could cast someone else as the title role and do all the same winks to the camera and the breaking the fourth wall, and it doesn't work nearly as well as it did with her. There's just something really magnetic about her.
The show's perfect.
And I think, just a dirty ground and pound action movie from David Leitch starring her. I think she could go the action route and just be a really cool character that just anchors emotionally, that you care about. And yeah, I think that would be red.
Dan?
This is a blockbuster duo.
Are we making money this time?
Oh, this is $100 million opening we can guarantee.
Making money.
Ready?
Oh, mine definitely did.
Christoph Waltz and Yorgos Lanthimos, who did The Lobster and The Favorite.
Okay.
Don't I know it? One of my favorites.
The Killing of a Sacred Deer. I think that they are both two of my. I love watching Yorgos Lanthimos' movies, and Christoph Waltz is like what I love about his performances in Tarantino films and even the bad, not as great movies that he's been in. Is he's relatable, but also he's so weird. Like Hans Landa is one of the things I love about that character, and even Dr. King Schultz from Django, which he won an Oscar for both, is they're both very straightforward and just very weird. They're odd, and I love the choices that Christoph Waltz makes when he acts, and I would love to see that sensibility of his, which obviously can go toward being like both very normal, because he looks very normal, but also extremely odd. Like that is Yorgos Lanthimos' brand.
Yeah.
I would love to see him get like the Colin Farrell and the Lobster type lead role in one of Yorgos Lanthimos' films, because I don't know what it would be, but I think it would be pretty damn interesting.
Yeah.
I would love to see those two sensibilities combined and just see what those two could do together.
I love that.
That'd be cool.
You and I have just made two fantastic movies for Hulu.
I'll watch them both.
I got a real hit here, you guys.
The Golden Globe voters are going to love the screeners of those movies.
Do you have one, Roxy?
I'm obsessed with what Patty Jenkins has been able to do for both Charlize and Gal, and how she's able to pull those roles out. And the person who I've missed, I think she should be one of the biggest actresses of our time, but she kind of fell off. She made an appearance in Once Upon a Time, though, is Dakota Fanning. I would love to see Patty Jenkins and Dakota Fanning tackle something, kind of anything.
Yeah, that's cool.
I feel like Patty's got so much heat on her right now, and Dakota could kind of use that resurgence, but she's so good.
Yeah.
She's so talented, and she's unrecognizable in many of her roles. So that kind of duo. Again, I guess I'm not the biggest moneymaker in the room, but I'd definitely go see it. Yeah. I think we have time for one last question, one more. This is an interesting one. I want to make sure we get to this because hopefully we can help some people out. This is coming from, there's more, but we're not going to have time for all of them. Yep. I think, according to the clock, we have H20250 left.
We forgot to
so whatever that means. This question is coming from Burns CB or Burn SCB, one of the two. Aha. I'm curious about the people on the panel. How did you get to where you are? Is this full-time employment? What do you do when you aren't recording, job related? Where are people? What are they doing when we don't see them, like Roth? How do the guest panelists get invited on? Tons of questions and interesting ones. Thanks for caring about our life, Burn or Burns, whoever you are. Joe.
Blaze and Burns today.
Answered it all, Joe.
Joe, well, starting on the back end and moving forward, how do guest panelists get invited on? I know you can kind of talk a little.
For better or worse, through me, Roxy Striar. I produce the show along with Ryan and Eric Goldman, who helps us put together our scripts and stories and our angles and our hot takes. It's a nice job. I like having it.
Thanks for having me, Joe.
I'll throw in some
now he's grateful.
a little bit of depth to the answer. I guess I know one of the challenges we sort of faced is the four of us, Dan, Spencer, Roth, and I, have a lot more to do sort of off camera now, and we've had to sort of spread out the amount of time that we do SJU. So it's sort of balancing when you guys get your standards on the show, and then also making sure that we're always bringing in new voices and new point of views, but also keeping that balance so that the show's not unrecognizable on any given day. So it's an interesting sort of puzzle to piece together, and a cool little riddle to solve.
I also think something amazing that you do, Joe, is you're looking for voices that are not being heard or people who are not being seen on necessarily other outlets. And I know that it's been really important for you guys to have a diversity of voices and people from different backgrounds and upbringings and whatnot, and that sometimes even people with smaller followings that you've been bringing in because they're not being heard. And I think that's really cool that you guys have been really focusing on that.
We get some gems that way.
Continuing to move backwards, let's touch upon like Roth. Dan, where's Roth?
I get asked that question a lot. We used to review all of our movies together. She used to be on Charting with me every week, and a lot of people, I love the show, I love the reviews when Roth was with you, and I love Charting when Roth was with me. I did too. I love doing it with Juan, but the reality of the fact is, if you saw now with how everything, with the way we're structured now, the number of things that Roth has to work on any given day, I'm still not convinced she's not doing what Hermione did in Harry Potter and has some sort of time turner that allows her to go back and do two things at once, because she is working on so many things. Fandom Uncovered, if you've seen Fandom Uncovered, that is she and Max, that is their child. That they and I mean those are little mini documentaries. Shooting and editing those, there's some stuff that we haven't announced yet that Roth is working on daily, developing the future programming, working to get the stuff that we're producing, future episodes of stuff we've already done on track. The sheer volume of stuff that she has to do now on a given day is staggering. I'll look at it sometimes and be like, I'm glad that's not
Best
me.
of luck, Roth.
Yeah. Exactly.
We have her here on Wednesdays, and I am glad we still do.
Yeah, I'm very glad that we can still have her here one day a week on SJU. I know that it's just I hear you. We see it too. Everyone that's just like, where's Roth? Where's Roth? We love Roth. I loved reviewing movies. I love reviewing movies with Roth.
Important thing to realize though is Roth was in no way, shape, or form kicked off the other days. Roth is because I get questions about that too. Why isn't Roth allowed on the show anymore? And that is not what's happening by any means.
By her own design. I think we have to talk her into coming on the show. There's so many times I'm like, Roth, please review this movie with me, and she's like, do you see my schedule? I'm like, I know, but she has probably the hardest job of anyone in this building, and it's literally just
other than the construction workers that you guys have been hearing
that are about to come through the wall.
Yeah.
I think it's been a really cool natural progression for her, because I don't think people know, but when Roth first came to Screen Junk, she was brought on to head up this channel. She was brought on as the editor-in-chief. She was brought on to develop the programming for this channel, to lead it, to run it, to oversee it. And so it's just been a very cool, natural progression of her job here.
Let's jump back to the top of the question, talking about how did you get where you are, and is this full-time employment? Greg, how did you get where you are? Is this full-time employment?
I'm a full-time Honest Trailers writer. That's
Emmy
what I
nominated
spend most of my time doing. I head everything. I'm so sorry. How did I get on the panel to here today? Is that the question?
I think, how did you get where you are in terms of your career?
Well, I didn't really watch YouTube videos, to be honest. I just kind of wanted to get my foot in the door because my passion's more in writing and acting and stuff. So I started off with doing movie reviews, and then I started doing something that I know Joe Starr loves, reaction videos. His favorite thing.
You're
in the
never
world.
gonna let me.
I'm never gonna let you. I have a clip that I saved on my card. I'm gonna play this every day. No, it's this. But what's funny is when the reaction videos started coming around, I honestly thought they were pretty silly. I thought they were dumb too. I was like, why are people watching this? Because my issue with it was most people will kind of just react and then just say subscribe right afterwards. Like, a lot of energy, subscribe. And I felt like there was no commentary to go along with that. So for me, my buddy and I, we try to actually have like a full video, even if we cover an honest trailer. Like, what we'll do is we'll make sure that our commentary is diving deep into what you guys talked about, riffing on what you guys are talking about. That way there's actual content outside of the reaction as well.
Otherwise, we'll sue you.
Otherwise, they'll sue us. Dan has sent me many Twitter messages. What the hell are you doing?
Drag with litigation more times.
Yeah.
Joe,
This intellectual property of us riffing on someone else's intellectual property is our intellectual property.
But no, I fortunately, after because I was working a full-time job, and then I was doing like 40 hours a week there as a receptionist at a doctor's office, which is like the
Similar.
best job in the world. Everyone loves going to the doctor.
Oh, yeah.
And then I was
very
doing
happy.
30 hours a week on the YouTube channel by myself for most of it, and then now it's this Patreon. It's my full-time income now.
Cool.
So when Joe asked if I can come on every week, that's what the hesitation is, because I'm running a lot of things at once right now.
busy.
Joe,
It's my full time.
I think you're a phenomenally talented dude.
what about
man.
for you, Joe? If you had to say how you got where you are, what
Roxy,
would
he
you
was
attribute it to?
complimenting me.
I was stepping
I
on the
kinda went
compliment.
into
Right?
that.
I know we only
And I was
have
looking for validation.
H2058 minutes
I'll never
left.
say it again. I moved to Los Angeles to be a stand-up comedian and a writer. Yeah, same with Sweet Ryan, our sweet little protege, our Robin, who you will never see on camera.
Nope, never.
He's a disembodied voice. He's Nanny from Muppet Babies. You will only ever see Ryan's
Legs.
feet.
Yeah.
Joe, tell them how
Legs
you
down.
got where you are.
I
Came here
love that
to.
you keep the show on track, Roxy.
I know,
The only person that
just
can do it.
yeah, you really are.
We have
You really.
H20258.
I did stand up. I started doing a show at UCB called Tournament of Nerds,
Oh, it's so
and which is hosted by Hal Rudnick. And when you and Spencer had an opening for an honest trailer writer, Hal recommended me. I came in and I refused to leave. And that literally, that's how it. You guys left to go on vacation. When you came back, I'd literally moved most of my possessions into the office.
And Joe, was it full time for you at first, or now it's full time for you?
I think Honest Trailers is the first time I ever I grinded for about 10 years, and every now and then comedy would pay some bills. And but yeah, I think the Honest Trailers was the first time that I was making money writing comedy full time.
The first time I saw Joe Starr on Screen Junkies was drunk movie fights. And that was
And it
hilarious.
was all uphill from there. Dan, what about you? What would you attribute it to? How did you get where you are?
So yeah, I moved out here about 14 years ago. I was a production assistant for a very long time. I was a personal assistant for a long time. I worked in post for a while. I was a post coordinator for a long time. I did a lot of behind the scenes jobs, and then there was the writer's strike, which the combination of the writer's strike and the recession back in 2008 really hit LA hard, and so I was out of work for a very, 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 very long time.
Living off your savings, or how did
Living
you?
a little bit off my savings, but mostly on unemployment.
Right.
I would work where I could, but it was hard to find a job. Then I went back. I worked as the assistant to Rob Schraub, who was directing the last season of the Sarah Silverman program, which was an amazing experience. And then I went to work for a color correction company. I worked in the vault there, and then as the night operations manager. So I worked nights for a year, which is just wonderful. That's a great schedule to have.
Good way to see your friends often.
Yeah, definitely see everybody that you know and not go crazy. And I could probably still be working there, but it had been at that point, I think, about 10 years since not quite, about 7 years since I moved out, and I realized that this could be my destination, but it wasn't the destination that I wanted. And I had been working with Channel 101. I did for years. I worked with Channel 101, helping to produce it eventually. And
that's sort of like a comedy feeder, I guess.
Yeah,
you call that.
I mean, there's a lot of people
for people that don't know.
doors of Channel 101, The Lonely Island, way back in the beginning.
Wow.
The Rick and Morty
did
team.
a lot of stuff on
Awesome.
Channel 101. Dan Harmon and Rob Schraub created Channel 101.
Oh, wow.
So way back in the early 2000s, like if you just look at the number of people that have cycled through there, it's a pretty crazy list.
Dan
of
Murrell.
people.
Dan Murrell.
You know, but I just mean people that are like
Emmy
making
nominated.
Making big moves.
Stuff. But I basically just said, like, it's now or never, and I'd really been drawn to editing. I loved editing. I still love editing, and so I quit my job. I'm not advising that you do this, but I quit my job. I had a tax refund that lasted me about 2 months, and I just said, I'm going to be a freelance editor. And I had a lot of great friends at the beginning that gave me an opportunity to do some stuff. I went broke, then heavily into debt. But I, as part of this is how this weird web of things happens. I edited a trailer, I knew Brett Weiner, who co-created Honest Trailers and worked at Break Media. I knew Brett from Channel 101, and he knew that I was a freelance editor, and they were starting I came in and did one pass of the Avatar Honest Trailer, and it never came out until months later, so I figured that I'd sucked and hadn't done well. But they were starting a new show, the Screen Junkie Show, and they said, do you want to come in and edit the first episode? And I did, and then the next week they said, do you want to come in and edit the next episode? So I did, and so I worked here 2 days a week, and then I edited a trailer for a Channel 101 awards show that Brett saw, and he's like, do you want to try Honest Trailers? I said, sure. So
How long before you were full-time?
define full-time. Legally? Or working 5 days a week?
Like benefits.
What are the practices at Screen Junkie?
Benefits. That was a while. I was a freelancer that worked exclusively for, not this company, Fandom is wonderful about benefits, but the previous company. I was a freelancer, but that worked exclusively for that company for well over a year. I don't think it was until they became Defy that they actually legally had to say, it's this weird thing that, like, strangely, there's a regulation that came in that said, like, if you bring somebody into your workplace and tell them that they can't work anywhere else, and they work 40 hours a week every week for you, then you should probably
an employee.
say that they're full-time and they're an employee and give them benefits. But that was also when I transitioned I started pitching jokes. I would walk into the writer's room and pitch jokes for Honest Trailers if I came up with one. So then they started calling me in when they were writing, and then that transitioned to producing and directing Hal and the Screen Junkie stuff. So it's very long-winded. It's a very long story. Apologies.
No, it's okay. Honestly, it makes me think that maybe we should do a longer episode on some of this, because I know a lot of our fans are people who are trying to break into the industry, navigate their path. And it's challenging.
Yeah, my advice always is just, if you're really committed to doing it, but you're trying to make a name for yourself, as long as you're not being exploited, as long as it's either a project that's paying you or a passion project for you that you don't mind doing on your own time, don't say no to anything.
Say yes to all of it.
If somebody offers you work and it's something that even if it's not something that's necessarily 100% in your wheelhouse, but it's something you're comfortable doing, do it. Because you never know who you're going to meet, and B, it's experience.
Completely agree.
It's experience.
I completely agree.
That is
Dan.
invaluable.
I think you got to be willing to step outside your comfort zone.
You do. Yeah.
Every single time I come here, my heart is beating. Even today, my heart just beats. And part of what
because he loves us so much.
Honestly, yeah. I mean, part of why I say yes a lot to so many things is because I'm uncomfortable, and I know that that's the only way to grow is to be outside of your comfort zone.
So hopefully, Burns, CB, that helps a little bit. We can get into more.
It's a shame we didn't get into you,
We will.
because no one works harder.
We need to do an origin stories.
Yeah,
episode.
why don't we next week, if we can next week, hopefully we can break into a little more, because
no one works harder than you.
I agree.
You, Joe.
I want to hear Roxy.
Thank you. There's also parts of the question too about what we're doing when we aren't recording, and I think we can talk a little bit more about some of our passion things that we're working on as well. So make sure you're tuning in all next week for SJU, and especially on Friday, because that's when you get to see this awesome face with my hair tips that I give Dan that he
I'm
tries to
I'm going to sleep in braids.
and all of that. Before we get out of here, Greg, where can the people keep up with you?
YouTube.com/TheRealRejects. One day I'll get Joe to guest star on there. It'll be a total blast.
I will react to anything that you want me to.
Joe, with the amazing numbers at the end that you've had since you were like 5 years old. Joe Starr, J-Star, what is it? Joe Starr 187?
187 coming soon to Real Rejects.
You know, Joe does karate. I did karate with Joe once.
He did.
Oh, he's badass.
He's badass.
Totally. Dan, where can everybody keep up with you?
At Murrell Dan ObiWan on Twitter, here on Screen Junkies. There's a review out now for Good Boys, which opens this weekend here on Fandom Entertainment. You can check that out. Charting, obviously, every week. It'll be all out on Monday. I'm working on my plugs, Roxy, because you get on to me for not plugging.
Honestly, really good right now. You're doing the best.
Thank you.
This is really good.
And it's there's been so many movies coming out, and I haven't done as many reviews as I'd like to, but I'm hoping to up that output pretty soon. I'll grab Roth to do them when I can, but it's like you have to find time when Roth can A, shoot a review, and B, go and see a movie.
Mm-hmm.
So I love doing them with Roth, and we do them together whenever we can. But I also love just doing the solo ones. I hope you like them too. I'm feeling a little more in my comfort zone with that. So yeah, thanks for watching.
Thank you to Ryan. Thank you to Billy. I'm Roxy Striar at Roxy Striar. We'll see you on Monday.